The 1998 film The Truman Show starring Jim Carrey was directed by Peter Weir, produced by Scott Rudin, Andrew Nicole, Edward S. Feldman, and Adam Schroeder. Truman Burbank's life is part of a giant TV set that he doesn't even know about. Your average everyday insurance salesman has a life that is broadcasted by Kristoff, the director of this extreme 24/7 reality TV show that has been running for 30 years. From the day he was born, the audience has seen it all. Kristoff has manipulated Truman's life to be the best life he could possibly have, even though minor slip-ups are made. For an example, Truman hearing a radio transmission of his area. Kristoff can, without any trouble, fix them. Truman soon questions if he's seen his dad, who drowned years ago, strolling through town. His dad is immediately hauled away by the townspeople. Truman starts to presume that somebody is hiding something from him. He starts testing limits and even endeavors to leave Sea Haven, just to be halted by the nuclear spill. He begins to realize something was going on, as his wife Myrtle begins to act strangely once he confronts her about what's going on. He eventually finds a way to escape and ends the movie by saying, "In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, one final time."
During the film, there's a scene of Truman getting ready, and he is completely oblivious to the camera recording him. Although our lives aren't constantly televised, there are many aspects of our lives that get recorded. If you're shopping in a grocery store, choose to use self-checkout, or just driving around, there are cameras recording you everywhere. In 2013, Edward Snowden leaked classified information about the National Security Agency and how they are able to track us based off our personal devices. Alison Flood is an editor for The Guardian and shares the U.S. government is able to monitor our phone calls, emails, and text messages. Dylan Curran, who is a web developer and data consultant for The Guardian, interviewed Snowden. Snowden shared some of the different programs affiliated with the NSA. One program mentioned was called Optic Nerve. This program captured webcam images every 5 minutes from Yahoo users' video chats and stored them for future use. This more than anything reveals how little privacy and how little control we have over the government in our everyday lives.
The way that advertisements are shown in the film is also comparable to modern society's advertising way. Nowadays, social media ads are tailored with our online activity. Significantly, the type of advertised products or services in The Truman Show are different depending on the time range viewers watch the show. For example, people who watch the show at breakfast time will be more likely to see food advertisements. In the show, Mococo chocolate is advertised while Truman is drinking it for breakfast. Another example can be the beers that Truman and a friend of him are having at night. Another relation is that in the real life in YouTube, people are not allowed to skip advertisements, and in the show it's also impossible to avoid them because they are advertised as it goes on. To give an illustration of this, we can remember the moment when Truman is walking in the street and the Kaiser chicken is advertised because two men push him towards the poster. Viewers are bound to see that ad. The way that advertisements
The Truman Show is the exact definition of predestination. Truman's whole life is planned, scripted, and documented. Everything from who his wife will be to the clothes he wears is predetermined by the producer. Clearly our lives are not like that, and our government isn't scripting our whole lives, but things such as mass incarceration and underfunded public education have huge impacts on the futures of those who are affected. Wendy Sawyer, a senior analyst for the Prison Policy Initiative, went through data from the Department of Justice and estimated over 540,000 people are in jail awaiting trial. That is thousands of mothers and fathers unable to provide for their family and the people that depend on them. The elderly and young who are unable to provide for themselves are left stranded in unstable environments, putting themselves at a disadvantage they shouldn't be in, thus perpetuating the vicious cycle of crime and poverty. It is easy for people to say all the poor need is education to end the cycle, but what do you do when even your education system is failing you? According to the Education Trust, the government spends approximately $1,000 less per student in our nation's poorest areas. It should be the opposite. Schools in poorer areas should be supported more than those in wealthy areas. But it goes to show how our government unfairly influences many of its citizens.
The viewer is expected to feel sorry for Truman, but unexpectedly they don't, since the world has become addicted to watching him on the show. People easily forget that Truman has no idea that the life he's living is a show, and everyone will try to prevent him to find out the truth behind it. As people, we have developed a culture which does not like to look at the dark side of things, but instead prefer to reject negative ideas when it's inconvenient. On The Truman Show, when the wife tries to confront the directors, they blindly turn their heads, ignoring priorities and putting entertainment over morality. This example can be applied to the real world multiple times, like how the meat industry still employs cruel practices on, or how big shoes companies still make money at the expense of terrible labor practices or minor labor. People that could make a difference or have an impact on this matter just turn their heads just to view a distorted way of how life should be.
All in all, The Truman Show is a great example of how a movie can have many parallels and correlations to real life. The Truman Show by Peter Weir holds many similarities to real life in the way that many of the situations and objects in the film can be correlated to today's present way of life. Such examples of this include predetermined futures and how the government offers less support for certain areas. Other examples include the inability to escape technology and the loss of privacy in our day-to-day life. Also, things such as advertisements and how they are inescapable as well as subtle remain prominent throughout the movie. The film also explains how ignorance is a key factor today in the way that in real life bad and dark things are often overlooked or ignored completely. Finally, from watching the film The Truman Show, we can conclude that these are the best parallels between the film and real life.